My name is Praneeth Patil. I'm a senior staff engineer at Equinix. And today I'm going to talk about how an autonomous agent can build multi-cloud infrastructure for you and take you beyond ISC and prompt engineering. The days of having all your workloads in on-prem or in a single cloud provider are long gone. Now customers have their uh, training models in NVIDIA cloud. They have their data pipeline in AWS, inference in GCP, and their secret data or secure data in their on-prem. And there is a constant need to stitch them all together, and that of complexity. Every cloud provider has their own tools, have their own way of orchestrating patterns. Some call it Express Connect, some call it Direct Connect, some call it cloud routers. And these are all confusing jargons. And for DevOps team to understand all of this and stitch together the network has been more challenged than ever before. Luckily, there are tools for us. Terraform came up with declarative statements that said we will do infrastructure as code. It will show you can write what your infrastructure is meant to be. And Terraform Cloud said, okay, I'll help you with maintaining the state and maybe a little bit of reconciliation. Pulumi said, oh, you can write your own code in whatever language you're familiar with, and we'll translate that to infrastructure as code. Cross companies and teams have built Kubernetes operators, and they've leveraged crossplane to reconcile their infrastructure because there's always a drift. AWS said CloudFormation can do it all, but there is a lot of these different tools out there, and not one solves all the problem of easy cloud provisioning. What comes with all of this is fear of change. Nobody wants to touch infrastructure that seems so brittle that you make one change somewhere, something else goes out of the window. There is always inconsistencies in reconciliation. Your Terraform state says something, but somebody did something on the console that nobody knows about. States are opaque, hard to interpret what it really translates to. And then there is cognitive overload. You have multiple different DSLs, HCLs, APIs, and different jargons that people have to understand. And lastly, the tribal knowledge. We have all been there where you are at the mercy of another engineer and you're always hoping that engineer never leaves because only he or she of them know what it really stands for. Luckily, AI has come to our rescue and started telling us how to start writing these programs better. But LLMs are nothing but glorified template generators. And a lot of teams have claimed to be using LLMs and having agreed or having believed to have jumped on the gravy train of AI, but we are still limiting ourselves. The real answer is the autonomous infrastructure agent that understands multi-cloud, understands the history, understands the syntax, understands the correctness, understands the configurations with minimum hint. Infrastructure as code with LLMs are great. They speed you up, but they're very limited. They can only generate templates for you. They cannot, in fact, put in all the values for you. They do not have context awareness, which means their response and the templates that are generated are at the mercy of how good your prompt is. And you have to be manually verifying the templates or the code generated in terms of correctness, in terms of security policies and syntax. And there is no operational intelligence whatsoever in the. So with my expertise and my experimentation, I bring this vision to the DevOps community of autonomous infrastructure agent that transforms your LLMs from passive code generator to continuously aware system that understands your infrastructure, that reasons on real time and makes analysis, does autonomous actions on your behalf, orchestrates cloud constructs and cloud sources. It does self-correction when needed. It optimizes your costs, your security, and any differences that you might want your agent to do for your organization. The core architecture is around RAG, purpose-built ritual layer, index your cloud assets, configurations, and dependencies across all your cloud providers, transforming a static model into a dynamic infrastructure. The architecture pattern solves the context window limitation and ensures that agents have up-to-date information and not based on any old documentation from the cloud providers. My pipeline is your judge. Verify validation, verify and the correctness with terms of relationships and constraints that you have put together as an organization. It ensures all the security concerns are taken care of. Unnecessary ports are not reported, security growths are not overridden. And then finally, the compliance check. That's something that comes from InfoSec teams, for example. I categorized building this RAG into three main categories. One is specialized retrieval. The domain-specific vectors will store infrastructure metadata, configuration templates. It could be provider native schemas, relationship indices, and then historical change logs will become core reasoning for why a particular decision has been made. And then the real-time synchronization. This is where you get your cloud files, you get your activity logs, any drift detections you might have said. That feeds into the agent. And then the guardrail workflows, the policy agent design with mandatory checkpoints with human in the loop for escalation. When done correctly, such an autonomous infrastructure agent can accelerate your deployment. It will go from minutes, it will go from hours to minutes. Cross-border orchestration would not be as complicated and as scary as it seems, and it becomes more natural. And the self-healing operations is where you get bang for the buck with auto detections and auto remediations. But that doesn't go with saying that there are no risks. You will run into context window constraints if the window gets too large. But with the specialized retrieval and summarization strategies, you can mitigate that. Identity boundary failures, which is very scary. Autonomous agents can get out of control if not properly managed. If you have least privilege models set up and service accounts associated with them, you can mitigate that. Hallucination risk. LLM agents think as they want. None of us know how they really think very well. Having multi-stage verification that we talked about and doing dry run validations can prevent these catastrophic failures. Agent level access security. Compromised agents can manipulate the production infrastructure, which is scarier than anything for me. Immutable audit trails and anomaly detections can help us get past that. Now that we know what we need to do, now it comes down to how we want to do it. Take a small step. Start with building your RAG foundation. Build a strong RAG foundation based on your infrastructure state, in your templates, the history and states, whatever you might have, and start from there. Build a concrete verification pipeline, multi-stage pipelines for syntax, semantics, security, and compliance that we discussed before. And then deploy autonomous agents with guardrails that is centric to your workflows. Deploy in low risk areas with high reputation tasks and run it over and see how it performs. And then you can scale it up with proper governance. I want to stress this. I cannot emphasize security and governance enough. If we want to deploy an autonomous agent that can run on our production infrastructure, then and auditing becomes the topmost concern. Start with least privilege assignment model, and they should always be time bound. Have multi-factor authentication for your agents through service accounts. Segregate execution environment workflows between the cloud providers and your environments. Continuous permission monitoring. See if agents also go rogue and update their permission. It's enough concerns and protections around IAMs. Audits and compliances, immutable logs of all the agents' decisions becomes core to this. Real-time anomaly detection on agent behavior. autonomous compliance reporting and regulation. In 2026, infrastructure autonomous agents will start becoming a baseline. If you miss the boat, you will fall behind. Deployment velocity, incident reduction, and cost optimization is something are the metrics that we accounted for. And this is where an autonomous agent can be our best friend. Infrastructure agents are not in distant future. They are right here. It is up for us to make the deliberate decisions to build RAG-powered awareness, multi-stage verification, and governance agent design. We can try to get look or explore some of the out-of-the-box agents for infrastructure management, but they might not always do what we need because every organizations are different, every requirements are different, and until and unless we train these agents to do what we want for our organization, we will always fall behind. So take that step. With that, I thank Conf42 and DevOps conference for giving me this opportunity. I hope you all enjoyed my talk.